Hello everybody, and welcome back to Insider's Guide. Today we're continuing our discussion of both the most overlooked resort in southwestern Colorado and the land of many traverses. Purgatory is often overshadowed by the notoriety of Telluride and the growing recognition of Wolf Creek, but it in itself offers some excellent skiing aside from all its traverses, all of which we'll discuss in today's episode of Insider's Guide. So with that, let's finish in Insider's Guide to Ski Resorts, Purgatory. There are two main faces of Purgatory, although they're really more perpendicular to each other than on opposite sides. Today, we're discussing the backside, but if you haven't already watched Part A about the front side, you'll want to do that first. It'll give valuable context to a lot of the things I say in this video. Because I'm feeling idiosyncratic at the time of writing, we'll start over at this far boundary and work towards the front side. The Legends Express, Chair 8, is by far my favorite lift in all of Purgatory. It's the only one of the three detachables at Purgatory that doesn't get lines, and it serves some excellent terrain. It's also the newest, which means it's less prone to mechanical issues, and, in my opinion, it's the most comfortable of all the Purgy chairlifts. The general terrain profile of this pod means it has very few slowings or stoppages. Overall, a great chairlift. Oftentimes, I'll head straight to Legends in the morning, continue to lap 8 until its terrain closes at about 3:15, and then get a few last laps on 1 on the front side. The main part of Elliott's here is by far my favorite run in the whole of Purgatory. It's a wide, steep groomer, and its location at the furthest edge of the resort ensures it's never busy. You can hit some really fast speeds on it, or, if you're not a speed demon, it offers some nice views down across the valley towards Grey Rock Peak. The same can be said for Ray's Run, here, so it's another of my favorites. Lower Elliott's is also groomed, but is much more busy and icy, so I would actually recommend going around on the Legends Bypass catwalk. The road around here isn't too flat, and it's way less busy. Chet's is a really good blue cruiser, as can be these other blues, but they're not all groomed as much as other blues at the resort. Especially for major fun, I would check the daily grooming report. Mixed in here are some other Mogul Blacks, of which I really like Blackburn's Bash, straight down under the lift. McCormick's Maze is a really fun glade that really isn't all that steep, and there are some other really nice tree runs to be found between all of these short Mogul Blacks on the looker's right of 8. One of the best unmarked tree skiing spots is right here between Elliott's and Ray's Ridge. If you remember from Part A, the snow is very hit and miss, so I would only do the trees if there's been snow in the past couple days. Also be careful that you don't take any of these 3 lower Mogul chutes if the number 11 toes aren't running, because you'll find yourself walking across the valley to get back to 8 if they're not operating. The middle lift on the backside, Grizzly, very rarely operates. Purgatory says it runs Fridays through Sundays, but in my experience there have been plenty of weekends where it didn't run at all. When it does, it has a 12-minute ride time, which leads to it never, and I mean never, having lines. If you can bear to sit on the chair for 12 or more minutes, I would highly recommend lapping Dead Spike, Wapiti, and Bull Run. Be careful with Bull Run because it'll trick you. It's rather mellow for quite a bit before pretty much hitting a cliff where it easily becomes the most difficult Mogul run in the resort. Dead Spike is often split groomed, so you can use that to learn moguls if you're just progressing. If Chair 5 is not running, you'll have to hike back out, so these lower runs close at 2. Right in the middle of the Chair 5 pod is Dante's Backside Bistro, which is my favorite place to eat lunch at Purgatory, as it avoids the crowds of the Powder House and the Purgatory Village restaurants. And, oh yeah, it's right next to my favorite terrain. A win-win for me. The Hermosa Park Express lift, number 3, can be the busiest lift on the mountain depending on the time. Purgatory busy is not the same as, say, Copper or Breckenridge busy, but I do remember an occasion where I waited for over a half hour because of stoppages. It's not too bad overall, but when I can head over to Chair 8 and ski right on, I'm taking that every time. Hermosa Park is popular for a reason. It serves all of these easy blue groomers right here that are loved by intermediate and expert skiers alike to cruise. These runs have a bunch of natural rollers, which many people find super fun as it has often been described as a roller coaster feeling cruising down these blues. Of all these, it has seemed to me that the busiest is Peace, so I generally prefer Zinfandel and Airmel. If you want to get away from everyone else, the Black Mogul Run Snag, or even getting all the way out west to hit Middle Dead Spike, are never bad options. These 3 little Black Mogul offshoots of Snag here are all typically pretty empty, and these trees between Snag and Dead Spike offer some nice empty tree skiing. It's hard to make out on this map, but you can indeed get to Peace from Dead Spike along this little cut, in order to avoid the moguls of Gunsight, Snag, and Harris Hill. Below just about here, every run breaks out into the open and has a long, flat run out to the actual base of the lift. As such, make sure to keep up plenty, and I mean a lot of speed, to make it to the bottom of 3 without having to push, skate, or walk. Matching speed with everyone else ought to do the trick. I would be very cautious about heading to Hermosa Park if you're strictly a green skier, because these upper parts of the greens up here are traverses, as are the lowermost parts. You only get a couple hundred yards that aren't flat roads. So while it technically is possible to do green laps on 3, I find it much more enjoyable to lap 2 or 4 for long greens, despite the longer ride times, which we discussed in Part A. To get to the Hermosa Park lift, I would highly recommend taking Salvation from the top of 4, as it's much less flat than the aptly named Walk-A-Lot and Nirvana catwalks. I will never understand why any of you in your right mind would take a downhill piste at a lift-served resort named Walk-A-Lot, but yet I see like 10 people a minute do it. Let's just blame it on the Texans. Now, the backside of Purgatory, or Traversatory as some call it, can be difficult to get across, as we've mentioned many times. To get to the Legends pod, taking the Legends run from the top of Hermosa Park is pretty much the only option. However, if you want to avoid the aforementioned lines and run out at Hermosa Park and Grizzly is running, I would recommend taking Hermosa Parkway to 5, then getting off at the mid-station and taking the Legends run from there. Hermosa Parkway is a bit flat, but I find it worth it. Getting back from the Legends pod is more difficult. You effectively have the choice between waiting in line for 3 via Jones Jubilee and Path to Peace, or hiking all the way back to the front side along BD&M. I prefer the former, but it's definitely a pick-your-poison scenario that I can't definitively answer in an internet guide. BD&M might just be the flattest of all the Purgy traverses, so I pretty much try to avoid it at all costs. That about wraps it up for Purgatory. As always, please leave any questions down below. If you enjoyed this video, go check out one of our other Insider's guides. Thank you all so much for watching. All my love, I'm out.